3, 2, 1.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Boylei Hobby Time. When I sat down at my desk this week, I had no idea what I was going to build. But I saw this little spaceman, and there was one word that came to my mind. Herliga. I don't know what that means, but this glass dome from IKEA has been sitting on my shelf for a while now. I thought, why not use it in something space-related? Originally, I was thinking of making some sort of glowing void or portal, as one does, and using the astronaut figure as the subject of the diorama. But as I got working on it, I decided to course correct and go another direction. Either way, the first step was to get the battery housing and switch mounted into the base. I got out my drill press mount for my Dremel, and I drilled a hole in each corner where the battery housing would fit. After that, I took the base outside and I cut out the rest of the shape with a jigsaw. I made an exact fit so the housing would fit nice and snug. To get my toggle switch installed, I routed a little slot in the shape of the switch on the bottom of the base, and then I screwed it in place. Next, I took the positive lead from the battery housing, I cut it, and I stripped the little bit that was left, and I soldered it to the switch. I then took the offcut, and I ran it from another prong on the switch through the other side of the base to power the lights. It was at this point that I decided to go in the direction of a rocket instead of a portal. I saw these 3 filaments and I thought it would be cool to make a rocket with 3 boosters from them. I measured the interior height of the dome so I knew how much space I had to work with, and I began constructing the rocket from styrene tubes. Given the simplicity of its shape, Falcon Heavy looked like an easy rocket to recreate, at least at this scale. I pulled up a picture of the rocket and I measured it against that picture to make sure it was dimensionally accurate. I cut 2 additional rockets to go on either side. I used a slightly larger piece of styrene tube to make the bulbous section at the top of the rocket where they keep the batteries. I used a drill and an X-Acto knife to bevel the bottom edge of the large tube sections, and then I filled all the tubes with solid pieces of styrene, which I glued in place. Then I used the drill method again to form the ends of the rockets into a more pointy and aerodynamic shape. Once that was done, I connected each of the rocket sections together and I added some additional details using some super thin pieces of styrene. These details included some tubes that run the length of the rockets, as well as some stabilizing fins. At this point, the rocket was mostly done, so it was time to construct the tower that sits next to the rocket. I used pieces from a water bridge. I wasn't sure what a water bridge was, so I looked into it, and as the name suggests, it's a bridge for water. It's also where we get the saying, like water over the bridge from. I cut 1 large beam section into 4 smaller sections and I glued them into a tall box. After that, I covered it in greeblies. The tower is not even slightly accurate upon close inspection, but it's mostly covered by smoke by the end of the video, so I'm not too worried about it. After I had glued all the little bits in place, I took the tower outside and I primed it. A channel I connected with early on in my time on YouTube was For the Craft. A while back, he made a Falcon 9 diorama with a light-up Falcon 9 encased in resin. He also has a bunch of other great projects on his channel. If you're not already subscribed to him, you should definitely go do that. The next step was to work out the lighting for the diorama. I decided to have the 3 filaments support the weight of the rocket and hold it in the air. To keep them in place securely, and keep the filaments parallel, I cut up 3 small sections of styrene tube, same thickness as the rocket. I made a little filament mount to sit on the base. I made sure all of the negatives were pointed the same direction, and I stuck them through the styrene tubes and I soldered them together. I adjusted them with the rocket on top to make sure that everything was lined up. I also connected all the positives together. I'll run a single wire behind the filaments later on. I glued the filament mount to the base. I connected the wires from the battery, connected 2 noodle filaments to the same parallel circuit as the straight filaments. I used some styrene tubes to make sure the filaments were going out in the direction that I wanted, and then I bent some little pins to hold the noodles in an orientation that looked a little bit more organic. After gluing the tower down, it was time to make some smoke plumes by using some polyester quilt batting. The exterior of the clouds are made by balling up the fluff to make it more dense. The interior I left spread out to allow more light through. It also diffuses the light, giving it a nice soft glow. I just kept adding little cotton balls to the base until I was happy with it, and then it was time to do some painting. I painted on the SpaceX text, as well as the little red Falcon logo and FH at the top of the rocket. I also painted the little black bits on the side, then I broke out the airbrush to give the smoke one final layer of realism. I lightly went over all of the furthest cloud sections with black to block the light in those areas. And the last thing to do was to carefully put the glass dome back on the base. After that, I called it good.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Think what you will about Elon Musk, but I would find it pretty fun if somehow he saw this video. I know he has a lot of big things going on right now, and plenty of large rockets to play with, but maybe I could talk him into trading this tiny handmade rocket for a tour of SpaceX, or Tesla, or just a selfie. If Twitter still exists by the time this video comes out, you should tweet this video at him and see if we can get him to watch it. More unlikely things have happened on the internet. Either way, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Huge shout out, as always, to my patrons. You guys are the best. Have an awesome week, everyone. I'll see you next time.